It is Monday, January 19th, 2026, and millions of Americans from Texas to New England are about to face something they have not seen in years. A major winter storm is brewing, and confidence is increasing every single hour. But here is what nobody is telling you yet. The real danger is not just the snow. Right now, as you are watching this, cold air is already settling into position across the central United States. And in just 72 hours, between 80 and 100 million people could wake up to a weather emergency. Some of you will see heavy snow. Some of you will face something far more dangerous, a crippling ice storm that could leave you without power for days. Drop a comment right now with your city and state. Tell me where you are watching from, and I will give you the most accurate forecast for your specific location. Do not wait. The earlier you know, the better you can prepare. Let me show you exactly what is happening. This is not speculation. This is not maybe. The National Weather Service has already issued a Day 5 outlook, and it covers an area stretching from Denver, Colorado, all the way to Kentucky. That is Oklahoma City. That is Little Rock, Arkansas. That is Memphis, Nashville, and most of Kentucky. A 15% probability zone this far out means forecasters are already seeing a strong signal, and that signal is getting stronger. Here is the first twist you need to understand. This is not a normal winter storm. We have cold air already in place across the South and Midwest. Temperatures are going to drop even further, but at the same time, this storm system is going to pull warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico northward, riding right over the top of that cold air. When warm air meets cold air at the surface, you do not get snow, you get ice, freezing rain, sleet, the kind of weather that snaps tree branches, brings down power lines, and makes roads absolutely impassable. And here is what makes this even more serious. By Saturday into Sunday, the threat zone expands dramatically. We are now looking at an area from northeast Texas and Louisiana, sweeping through the Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valley, into the mid-Atlantic and even portions of New England. If you live anywhere from Dallas to Boston, you need to pay attention to every single update over the next 48 hours. But wait, because at the 30-second mark, I promised you something important. Here it is. Some computer models are showing snowfall totals that would make this a historic, memorable storm. We are talking about potential accumulations that people will be discussing for years. But, and this is critical, everything has to come together perfectly. Will it? I am going to show you exactly what the models are predicting, where the biggest uncertainties are, and most importantly, what you should be doing right now to prepare. Let me be completely honest with you. I am not going to lie and tell you I know exactly where the heaviest snow will fall. I am not going to pretend I can pinpoint which neighborhoods will get 2 feet versus 2 inches. We are still several days out, and winter storms like this change. They shift, they intensify or weaken. What I can tell you is this: someone in this massive area is going to get absolutely hammered. The question is, will it be you? Here is another shocking detail. This storm is slow moving. That means it is not going to race through in 6 hours and leave. No, we are looking at impacts that stretch from Friday all the way through Monday. 4 days of winter weather, 4 days of potential travel disruptions, 4 days where millions of people might be stuck at home. And speaking of being stuck at home, let me tell you about the cold. Forget the snow and ice for a moment. The temperatures behind this system are going to be brutal. We are talking about 0 degrees Fahrenheit in Springfield, Illinois. -9 degrees in Chicago, and this is Friday morning without factoring in the wind chill. Up in Minnesota and North Dakota, raw temperatures could hit -29, -30 degrees. When you add in the wind from the storm system, we could be looking at wind chills approaching -50 degrees. Think about that for a second. -50-degree wind chills. That is the kind of cold where exposed skin can get frostbite in less than 5 minutes. That is the kind of cold that can freeze pipes, that can overwhelm heating systems, that can be genuinely dangerous if you are not prepared. Now here is the part that is going to surprise you. This Arctic air is not staying up north. By Sunday morning, we are going to have freezing temperatures all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Dallas could be in the teens, Oklahoma City in the teens, St. Louis at 17 degrees. And here is why that matters. If we do get a significant ice storm, and then temperatures stay below freezing for several days afterward, that ice is not melting. Roads will not clear. Power crews will be working in dangerous conditions trying to restore electricity. This could be a multi-day emergency for some communities. Drop another comment. Tell me if you have a backup power source. Tell me if you have enough supplies to shelter in place for 3 to 4 days if needed. Because the time to prepare is right now, not when the storm is already here. Let me show you what the latest computer models are indicating. The GFS model, one of our primary forecasting tools, is painting precipitation breaking out on Friday. Late Thursday into Friday, we start to see the action. And here is what it is showing. Snow in Wichita, Kansas, and Oklahoma City by 5 p.m. on Friday. But look at this transition zone in pink and purple. That is sleet and freezing rain. Now, do not get fixated on the exact placement of these colors. By tomorrow, this could shift 100 miles north or 100 miles south. The snow shield could expand to be 5 times bigger, or it could shrink dramatically. But what we are looking at right now is the general pattern, the overall signal. And that signal is strong. As we push forward in time, the model shows snow moving into Memphis, potentially Little Rock. And here is something that caught my attention. The GFS is showing a particularly scary situation for the Dallas-Fort Worth area in terms of an ice storm. Now, could this change? Absolutely. But it is on the table. It is a real possibility that one of the largest metropolitan areas in the country could face significant icing. But here is where it gets interesting. The GFS does something unusual as we go further out. Instead of organizing into a consolidated storm system, it shows more of an overrunning event, where moisture just slides eastward without really consolidating. Energy gets rocketed to the east. Nothing really organizes into a classic low-pressure system. And I have to tell you, that does not feel right to me. I have tracked winter storms for years, and this kind of pattern just does not match what I would expect. Other models are showing something different. They are depicting a more expansive snow shield, a more solidified storm system that forms and then tracks northward and eastward. That makes more sense given the overall setup. So while the GFS is one tool we use, I am not putting all my confidence in this particular model run. But even with that said, look at how far south the GFS is bringing ice, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. We could be talking about freezing rain in Austin, Texas, in San Antonio. At the same time, we could see snow in northern Mississippi and Alabama with heavy snow in North Carolina. That is the kind of geographic spread that impacts tens of millions of people. Here is your next surprise. By the time we get to Sunday and Monday, this storm still is not done. The Mid-Atlantic region could still be getting hit with wintry precipitation. We are talking about the Interstate 95 corridor from Washington, D.C. through Philadelphia, New York, and all the way up to Boston. The storm is likely going to curve northward and eastward, and if conditions are right, it could phase into a classic nor'easter as it moves over the Atlantic Ocean. And if that happens, if everything comes together just right, we could see very significant snowfall in Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. Some models are hinting at this potential, but again, everything has to align perfectly. As of right now, the safe bet is to say snow and ice are possible in these areas. That is as detailed as we can get until we see how this develops over the next 24 to 48 hours. Now let me show you something really interesting. The national blend of models takes the European model, the GFS, the Canadian model, and blends them all together. It averages out what all these different computer forecasts are showing, and this is actually one of the better ways to look at potential snowfall several days out because you are not relying on just one model that might be an outlier. What is the blend showing? There is a decent bullseye over Oklahoma and Kansas, where many locations could see more than 6 inches of snow. But here is the really eye-catching part. There is a significant bullseye over Virginia, where the models averaged together are showing over a foot of snow in Richmond. Some individual model runs are showing close to 2 feet of snow in parts of Virginia. Let that sink in for a moment. 2 feet of snow in Virginia. Is that guaranteed? No. Is it possible? Yes. This is exactly the kind of storm where the forecast details matter enormously. If you end up 50 miles on one side of the track, you get buried in snow. If you are 50 miles on the other side, you might just get a cold rain or a light dusting. Here is the reality. Somebody in this massive forecast area is going to get a major snowstorm. The kind of storm people remember. The kind of storm that shuts down cities. This could be it. This could be the big one that snow lovers have been waiting for. And this is a big but, there is also going to be a substantial ice component to this storm, and ice is not something to hope for. Ice is dangerous. Ice causes real problems. If you are rooting for this storm because you love snow, there is a very real chance you end up on the ice side of the equation instead. And trust me, a major ice storm is not fun. It is not something you want to experience. We are talking about potential power outages lasting days. We are talking about tree damage. We are talking about roads that are essentially ice rinks. This is the kind of system that could cause serious disruptions if the ice shield ends up being large and the accumulations end up being significant. So while part of this forecast is exciting for winter weather enthusiasts, we also have to keep in mind the serious impacts this could have on people's lives. Do not be scared, but absolutely be prepared. Now, what should you be doing right now? First, make sure you are following along with updates. This forecast is going to change. It is going to flip-flop over the next couple days as we get better data and as the storm gets closer. By tomorrow, we should have a much better handle on the details. By Wednesday, we should be able to talk about specific snowfall amounts for specific cities. By Thursday, we will know with high confidence who is getting what. But today, Monday, this is your early heads up. This is your chance to get ahead of the rush. If you need to stock up on supplies, do it now, not Thursday night when everyone else is panicking. If you need to make sure your car has gas and your phone is charged, do it now. If you have medications you need to refill, do it now. This is not about panicking. This is about being smart and being ready. Check your flashlights. Make sure you have batteries. If you have a generator, test it now to make sure it works. Make sure you have enough food in the house to last several days without going to the store. Fill up your bathtub with water if there is a chance of losing power, because electric pumps mean no water if the power goes out. And if you have elderly neighbors or family members, check on them. Make sure they have what they need. Make sure they have a plan. Winter storms can be especially dangerous for seniors who might have mobility issues or health conditions that require them to stay warm. Here is another twist I need to tell you about. On top of everything else, we also have a rare space weather alert. The Space Weather Prediction Center is forecasting a severe geomagnetic storm for Tuesday, January 20th. That is tomorrow. We are likely going to get hit by a coronal mass ejection from the sun. You might hear people call these solar flares or solar storms. What does this mean? Well, it could bring aurora lights, the northern lights, much farther south than usual. If you are in the northern United States, there is a good chance you could see them tonight through tomorrow night. We are under a G4 watch, which means the lights could potentially be visible with a cell phone camera as far south as Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Texas. Now, every time one of these space weather events happens, you see stuff on social media about the end of the world. People saying you have 41 hours to charge everything, take the battery out of your car, unplug your lamps, put on a tinfoil hat, and hide in your basement. Let me be clear, that is nonsense. This is not going to be the end of the world. It could affect some radio communications. It could cause some minor disruptions to GPS, but it is not going to fry the electrical grid or destroy your electronics. However, if you do want to see the northern lights and you live in the northern tier of states, this could be your chance. Keep an eye on the sky after dark. Check for updates on social media, because if conditions are right, it could be quite a show. But let us get back to the winter storm, because that is what is really going to impact people's lives over the next several days. I want to emphasize again that this forecast is going to evolve. What I am showing you today is based on the best information we have right now. But winter storms are notoriously difficult to forecast precisely until they are much closer. Small changes in the track of the low-pressure system can mean huge differences in who gets snow versus who gets ice. That is why you need to keep checking back for updates. We are going to have daily videos. In fact, if things start looking more serious, we might do 2 videos a day to keep you updated. And this is almost certainly the kind of storm where we will go live to give you real-time updates as it is happening. Make sure you like and subscribe so you do not miss any of these updates. We are also posting on all the social media platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. So follow along wherever is most convenient for you, and we will make sure you have the latest information. Now, remember at the beginning when I said I would tell you the most important thing at the 5-minute mark? Here it is. The most important thing you can do right now is not panic, but also not ignore this. This is a significant weather event. It has the potential to impact a huge number of people. The impacts could last for several days, and the time to prepare is before the storm arrives, not during it. Think about your specific situation. Do you have to travel this weekend? you might want to reconsider those plans or have a backup option. Do you have important appointments or events? Start thinking about contingencies. Do you work from home, or would you need to get to an office? Make sure you have a plan. And here is something a lot of people do not think about. If you do lose power during an ice storm, how long can you safely stay in your home? Do you have a way to heat at least one room? Do you have enough warm blankets? Do you have a carbon monoxide detector if you are using any kind of alternative heating source? These are the kinds of questions you should be asking yourself now. For those of you in the southern states who might be thinking, we do not get winter storms here, we are not prepared for this, pay extra close attention. When you are not used to dealing with snow and ice, it is even more dangerous. Roads that never see winter weather do not get treated the same way. Drivers are not experienced in these conditions. Cities do not have the same equipment to clear roads. A 2-inch ice storm in Dallas is a much bigger deal than a 2-inch ice storm in Minneapolis simply because Dallas is not set up to handle it. Here is another important point. This cold air that is coming behind the storm is going to stick around. Even after the precipitation ends, we are looking at several days of below freezing temperatures across a huge portion of the country. That means ice is not melting, snow is not melting. Road conditions could remain hazardous well into early next week. And if you are in an area that does get a significant ice storm, understand that power restoration could take days, possibly longer. When ice brings down power lines and tree branches, utility crews have to work slowly and carefully. They cannot just flip a switch and restore everything instantly. You could be looking at 3, 4, 5 days without power in a worst-case scenario. Are you ready for that? Let me give you some specific numbers to think about. If we are looking at 80 to 100 million people in the potential impact zone, and even if only 10% of those people lose power, that is 8 to 10 million people without electricity. In January, during some of the coldest weather of the winter, that is a serious situation. But here is the good news. You still have time. You are watching this on Monday. The main impacts do not start until Friday at the earliest. You have 4 days to prepare. That is enough time to get your supplies, make your plans, and be ready for whatever this storm brings. Go back and drop another comment. Tell me what you are most concerned about. Are you worried about losing power? Are you worried about travel? Are you worried about snow removal? Let me know and I can address your specific concerns in the next update. Here is what we are going to be watching closely over the next 24 hours. First, we want to see if the models start to converge on a solution. Right now, there is still some disagreement between different forecast models about exactly how this storm will evolve. As we get closer, they should start to agree more. When they do, we will have much higher confidence in the details. Second, we are watching the position of the low-pressure system. Where it forms and which track it takes will determine who gets snow, who gets ice, and who stays on the cold rain side. A shift of just 100 miles in the storm track can completely change the forecast for millions of people. Third, we are watching the temperature profiles. The boundary between snow and ice is incredibly sharp. It can be snowing on one side of a highway and sleeting on the other side. Understanding exactly where that boundary sets up is crucial to the forecast. And fourth, we are watching the upper-level energy. How strong does this storm get? Does it intensify rapidly or does it stay relatively weak? A stronger storm means heavier precipitation rates, which means more snow or ice in a shorter period of time. It also means stronger winds, which would make already bad conditions even worse. This is the kind of setup that forecasters study for years to understand. It is complex, it is challenging, and it is exactly the kind of situation where things can change quickly as we get new data. So here is what I need you to do. Share this video with everyone you know who lives anywhere from Texas to Maine. Get the word out. The more people who know this storm is coming, the more people who can prepare, the better off everyone will be. And remember, we are in this together. When you leave comments, when you engage with these videos, it helps more people see the information. The algorithm pushes this content to more people who need to see it. So your engagement is not just about you. It is about helping your neighbors and your community stay informed and stay safe. I am going to leave you with this final thought. Winter storms are part of life in this country. We deal with them every year. The vast majority of the time, if you are prepared, if you have a plan, if you stay informed, you get through them just fine. This storm is going to be significant, yes. It is going to impact a lot of people, yes. But we have faced storms before, and we will face storms again. The difference between a storm being a minor inconvenience and a major crisis often comes down to preparation. And you are here, watching this video, getting the information you need. That means you are already ahead of the curve. Keep watching for updates. We will have new information tomorrow as the models come in. We will have more details on Wednesday. And by Thursday, we should have a very clear picture of exactly what is going to happen and where. Do not miss the next video. This is a developing situation and every update matters.